When the cork is bobbing on the surface of water, that's that pure positive energy place where you belong. You can hold the cork under the water unnaturally, but when you let go, it will bob back up. Negative emotion is like holding the cork under the water, and when you let go, it bobs back up. So releasing resistance is about detaching from, ignoring, deactivating the thought that's holding you in vibrational resistance. But we've never seen any of you who could deactivate a thought, because when you say, I'm going to deactivate it, you activate it. This is a vibrational universe, and when you look at something that you want and you say yes to it, you are literally calling to you that thing that you are saying yes to. But when you look at this thing that you are shouting no at, you literally activate and therefore call to you this thing that you are shouting no at. So in this attraction-based universe, there's no such thing as no. It's just wherever you're pointing is what you've got activated. It's like Jerry and Esther driving down the freeway. Esther's driving the monster bus, and Jerry's noticed when he says, look over there, she tends to drive over there. So he just points at things that are dead ahead. And you tend to do that too. You go where you are pointing. You go toward, you vibrationally activate whatever it is that has your attention. So when you decide that you're going to pay attention to the way you feel, then you begin approaching life from the standpoint of vibration. You begin recognizing that this thought and the way it feels is less of a vibrational match to who I really am and what I want than this thought. You learn to feel your way into your vibrational alignment. And when you do that, you are utilizing the fantastic emotional guidance system that you were born with. So, there are a few basic premises that you must accept in order to be the deliberate creator of your experience. First, you've got to accept that you are source energy in a physical body and you are good. And that no matter what you are living, source energy is still adoring you and flowing to you. And anything that you are doing in your way of thinking that feels less than wonderful is your deviation from that which your inner being thinks about the same subject. So when you feel proud of yourself, you're in alignment with your source who feels proud of you. When you are loving yourself, you are in alignment with your source who loves you. When you find fault with yourself, when you condemn yourself or somebody else, you're out of alignment with your source who never does that, because your source knows your value and trusts your beingness and loves your leading edgeness and flows immediately with the desire that is born out of that, because your source understands the expansion of this universe. Your source understands that you did not come forth to muck around with the others, to evaluate what's going on, to conclude a few good ideas and then get rid of the rest. Your source understands that this is a universe that is continually expanding and that it is like a well-stocked kitchen with every ingredient imaginable at your fingertips. You did not come forth to condemn the Tabasco sauce just because you don't want to put it in your pie. Just don't put it in your pie. But don't ask that it be removed from the kitchen altogether. And don't condemn the guy who puts it in his pie. Just don't eat his pie. Mind your business, make your own pie, eat your own pie, and leave the guy that puts Tabasco sauce in his pie alone. Understand that there are enough resources for everyone to make whatever kind of pie they want to make. And that nobody can put their pie in your face. They cannot. Nobody can make you eat their pie. You only eat their pie when you say, what's in your pie? Why do you put that in your pie? I don't think you should put that in your pie. My mother would have never put that in her pie. Well, my mother would have, but I moved way past her, and then I joined a church that certainly wouldn't put it in their pie. And my political party would not put that in our pie. How many of us, let's vote, how many would put that in their pie? Oh, more would not than would, so we're taking that out of the kitchen. You will never again get to put that in your pie. And we say, you can't get the stuff out of the kitchen. And the more you try to get the stuff out of the kitchen, the more you put the very stuff in the kitchen that you want to get out of the kitchen, and the more of it drips in your pie. It's really an interesting thing. The more you push against the stuff you do not want, the more you activate the stuff you do not want in your vibration. And the more you activate the stuff you do not want in your vibration, the more of it gets in your pie. And then the more determined you are to get rid of it from your pie. And so you join those groups those groups against that stuff in your pie. And before you know it, you are using that stuff that you don't want in your pie as your excuse to deprive yourself of the benefit that is out there in vibrational escrow just waiting for you to catch up with it, because you're so determined to keep the stuff out of your pie that you don't want in your pie. So, first you got to accept that you are worthy. Next, you got to accept that you have the ability to choose and that your guidance system will help you always choose accurately. And most important, you have to decide that it is not as important to you what anybody else thinks. Well, we've softened that slightly. What we really want to say is you don't give a rip what anybody else thinks. Because when you care more about what they think than you do about how you feel, then you'll follow the sign that says hot this way and you'll have a very cold bath. And then you'll resent the guy that put the sign on wrong. Then you'll want to go back and get to the bottom of that. You'll need to write notes to the hotel. I wanted a hot bath, but the sign said hot was that way. And I've always been obedient. I always do what I'm told to do. My mother taught me that. And so I want you to know I had a miserable bath. And it's your fault because I always do what I'm told, and I didn't like the way it turned out at all. And even though I sensed that if I turned it the other way, it would have been more comfortable, I've been taught not to pay any attention to my own resources of understanding, because after all, I'm but a humble human. And someone, I'm sure, someone connected to God put that sign on that faucet. Someone who really knew better than me. And so, hopefully, if we all pray, this error in judgment will be corrected. And I will be able then to live a better life, hopefully, because I always do what I'm told. And we are wanting so much for you to feel the absurdity of listening to any guidance that is outside of you, because there is no guidance that is outside of you that understands the vibrational relativity between who you are and who you are. And who you are is source energy in a physical body, romping here to have a glorious experience, wanting to uplift all. We're not saying to you don't care about the others. We're saying don't disregard your own guidance in lieu of what the others think. We see many of you, it feels good to have someone love and appreciate you. And when you're little especially, and you do things that make your parents love you, it pays off for you in some ways. And so many of you get oriented toward looking for the approval of others rather than sensing your own vibrational relativity. And it is our desire that by the end of this day that you leave here feeling empowered, knowing that you have guidance within you and willing to move up the emotional scale to allow yourself the benefit of all that you've been asking for. Past generations have lived contrasts that launched rockets of desires that future generations, even those like you, are now living. And it's a wonderful thing that has happened, because when they ask, now you are receiving the benefit of it. But we want to say to you, you can ask and you can be the recipient of what you're asking for. You don't have to launch things into your grandchildren's experience and deprive yourself of them now, you see. And the reason that the grandchildren will benefit by the launch rockets that you've set forth is because they're born with no resistance to the rockets that you've launched forth. Have you seen those little ones on computers? They have no problem with that. They were born with computers in their life. They're born cable ready. They're already up to speed with what you've launched into vibrational future. And that's one of the reasons that it's nice when the old ones croak and the new ones come in, because it sort of dilutes the resistance factor that's going on this planet. But you don't have to croak to release your resistance. You can do it today, a little step at a time. But you got to do it gradually. And most important, you got to care about the way you feel. And as you make the decision that you're going to reach for a thought that feels better, the most important thing that we want to impart in a way that you will really feel and live, we want so much for you to make peace with where you are. Because if you are condemning yourself about where you are, you can't move to a better place. That condemnation holds you in a vibration that does not allow the improvement. So you got to play down what's wrong with where you are and play up what's right with where you are. You got to look at the positive aspects about where you are, because people will say, well, here I am and I want to be over there. And we'll say, well, tell us about over there. And they'll say, well, it's sure better over there than it is over here. And we say, well, what is better over there? And they say, over here is wrong in this way and this way and this way. And we say, well, tell us about what's over there. And usually they have no words about over there. They've practiced their words about over here. And so their vibrational expectancy is so about over here. And friends, it's logical that it happens that way, because law of attraction won't give you thoughts that are over there if you're over here. Law of attraction cannot give you access to things that are vibrationally very different from where you are. So that's why we say, try your best to make peace with where you are, make the best of where you are, try to feel as good as you can about where you are, and then you'll move over here. And then, as you try to make the best of where you are, then you move over here. And as you try to make the best of where you are, then you'll move over here. And eventually, you will have moved from over here to over here. But you didn't quantum leap. And trust us, you don't want to. It is possible for you to want something so much and temporarily be so distracted from whatever it is that's holding you over here that you can move abruptly. You've all lived some of that, but you don't maintain it because you haven't practiced that thought enough to maintain it. You've got to mold the clay of your thoughts, whether you're thinking about past, present, or future. Doesn't matter whether you're remembering, imagining, observing, pretending. It doesn't matter if you're pondering or contemplating. It doesn't matter if you're discussing or just thinking about it silently or writing. Your point of focus activates a vibration. And if you're paying attention to the way you feel, you can tell. So now some say to us, but Abraham, I'm not sure how I feel. And we say, if you're not sure how you feel, then don't make any changes. Law of attraction will make whatever's happening bigger, and eventually it will be big enough you can feel it. Sometimes you say, Abraham, I've jumped out of an airplane. I'm 40,000 feet. I have no parachute. What should I do? And we say, hang on, it will be over soon. Sometimes you get yourself in a place where you have been launching the rocket. Now, think about this. So you've been thinking thoughts about things you want, about things you don't want. And so your vibrational escrow is full of all kinds of potential manifestations. And you can tell by the way you feel what you are on the path of manifesting. So you could wait till it manifests. That is helpful because what you think and what you feel and what manifests always matches. So it's nice to know that when something manifested, wanted or unwanted, that you were offering vibration about it. We call that post-manifestational awareness. Or you could just pay attention to the way you feel and you could tell where you're headed. So if you're fearful, you are in the process of getting closer and closer and closer to something that you are really not going to like when it gets there. And since 99% of every creation is complete before it manifests, you can be well along the way to creating something that you really want or really don't want without it manifesting. And when it happens, often you say, oh man, that came out of nowhere. And we say, hardly. You've been on your way to that for a long time. You have this huge vibrational leeway. Nothing just jumps into your experience. So we say that to you, not wanting you to be afraid of your thoughts. We don't want your emotions to frighten you. We see some of you, once you begin learning about deliberate creation, you say, cancel. You try to suck it back before the universe gets hold of it and manifests it in your experience. Say, nothing happens that fast. You have plenty of time from wherever you are to softly shift the vibration of your thought relative to any subject. And the slightest shift in thought makes a huge difference in the speed with which you move toward the manifestation that is certain. So when you find yourself not feeling so good, just softly say to yourself, I might not really want to be moving toward here. And when you find yourself feeling wonderful, say, ooh, I'm really on the trail of something that's wonderful. And then most of all, we said it earlier, but this is the most important component of all. Make peace with where you are, because where you are is just fine, and you can get to anywhere from where you are. It has been nice visiting with you. Now we will leave you to go to practice this forevermore. Nothing that we could say could be more meaningful than what you have just heard from us. But we are happy to sift through the nitty-gritty of your experience if you want to. You have some things you want to talk about? Do not worry, there is a wonderful unfolding that will take place. Every question will be addressed, whether you sit in the chair or not. With that in mind, begin right here. Yes. Further forward. Yes. This finger points at many. You are the one. Keep moving before someone else jumps up.